I didn't realize it at the time, but all these small changes that I was making in my life completely transformed the person that I am. I went from being lazy and unmotivated, which I had been my whole life, to the complete opposite, almost overflowing with motivation and inspiration. And my productivity easily doubled and maybe even quadrupled in that year. And at the time, I thought it was just a phase I was going through. I felt super motivated, but I thought I would eventually burn out and fall back to my natural levels of motivation. But 8 years later, I'm still just as motivated, just as inspired, maybe even more so. And in this video, I'm going to take you step by step how I managed to turn my life around and hopefully give you some inspiration and strategies to help you if you're feeling a bit uninspired. So there are quite a few kind of high performance study YouTubers that talk about this subject, but many of them went to very expensive private schools with really the very best education. And I unfortunately wasn't that person. I went to a free public school. My education was very average for someone in my country. My grades were average. I really was average in almost every sense of the word. But then in 2013 and 2014, I went through this kind of mindset shift where as I started to implement small mindset strategies into my life, my productivity would increase. And because my productivity would increase, I would start achieving more, which would motivate me even more. And my productivity kind of just kept spiraling higher and higher. So here are, I guess, the main things that I did, the main strategies I implemented to trigger that transformation. Go all in with one thing. So this is really important. I remember watching a Jordan Peterson interview a few weeks ago, and he was saying that if you truly want to turn your life around and achieve incredible things, a lot of people make the mistake of chasing too many rabbits at once, right? So as the saying goes, if you chase 2 rabbits, you end up catching none. And this is really important because it's a mistake a lot of people make. However, if you go all in with striving to achieve one goal, and you really devote your life to achieving that one thing, and all your effort and all your resources are super focused, that is when incredible things can start to happen. So for me, 8 or so years ago, I went all in with business. I learned everything I could about business, how to start one, how to register it, about marketing, finances, business growth, that kind of thing. And I would listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos, read books. I'd meet as many business-oriented people as I could, really just to learn as much as I could. And because I only had that one goal, I wasn't distracted and I could focus my entire life towards that one direction. So for you, it might be that you want to go all in with your study. Maybe you've made a decision that whatever happens in the next 3 years, you will graduate with a 4.0 GPA, no matter what happens, no matter what obstacles are thrown at you. You will do whatever it takes to achieve that goal. And this leads us to step number 2. Work with intent. This is really about working smart to achieve your goals. It's about whatever your main goal is, you need to be extremely strategic with how to get there. A very simple analogy would be if you're working your fingers to the bone, let's say 80 hours a week. If you're not working smart, then you're kind of wasting your time, right? A 2014 Stanford University study found that productivity per hour declines sharply when a person works more than 50 hours a week. But after 55 hours, productivity drops so much that putting in any more hours would just be pointless. And those who work 70 hours a week are only getting the same amount of work done as those who put in just 55 hours. You see, just because you're working long hours and you're always busy, it doesn't necessarily mean you're being productive, right? Productivity is not about completing as many tasks as you can during the day. It's about completing the most important tasks on a consistent basis. It's those important tasks that you need to spend more time on and ignore or delegate the lesser important tasks. And that is how you work smarter, not harder. The 10x rule. So this is something that I started implementing 7 or 8 years ago, but I'll be honest, it's still something I need to constantly remind myself about, because being able to remove my own self-limiting beliefs, it's an incredibly powerful thing to do. With my work, am I really having the biggest impact that I can have, or am I thinking too small? And Grant Cardone talks about the 10x rule quite often, which is where whatever your goals are, whatever you're aiming for right now, whether it's your grades, whether it's your finances, whether it's relationships in your life, maybe it's your physical health or your mental health, whatever your goals are, times those goals by 10, because it's very likely that you're thinking far too small.
The 10X rule is really about how could somebody take where they're at. If they're making $29 an hour or $15 an hour or $8 an hour, how would you take and 10X all that activity. And then while you're doing that, also 10x your marriage, 10x the kids, 10x your time off.
And I was definitely a victim to that. I was thinking far too small. I didn't believe that I was capable of achieving much in my life, therefore I didn't even try. And it was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And so to anyone watching this who is in a similar position to me, where you don't really believe that you're capable of achieving incredible things, I hope this video goes at least some way into showing you that if I can do it, and there's nothing particularly special about me, so if I can do it and I can turn my life around, then so can you. Leave your safety blanket. Over the last 10 years or so, I've realized that the bigger the risks I take, the more rewarding my life is. So for the first 20 or so years of my life, I stayed firmly in my comfort zone. I never really tried new things, new sports, new hobbies, new business ventures. I just kind of went with whatever was easiest. It wasn't until I started taking some level of risk that my life started to really change. In order to achieve success, you can't really achieve that by staying in your comfort zone, right? So for example, I've never been any good at maths. Throughout high school, maths was one of my weakest subjects, but there was one problem. I wanted to study economics and finance, but my course was extremely maths intensive. So I could have done one of two things. I could have chosen a different degree, like business administration or marketing or something that involved less maths, or I could bite the bullet, take the risk, and just study economics and finance anyway, but double down on my weakness, so double down on the maths. And that's what I chose to do. Economics was also a far more demanding and intensive course compared with other subjects like business and marketing. The percentage of people that graduated with a 4.0 GPA in economics was less than 5%, I think, whereas the 4.0 GPA rate in the business and marketing courses were over 10%. So I could have gone the easier route in so many ways, but I chose not to, and I'm so glad I didn't. I genuinely believe I have grown so much more as a person because my university course was so difficult. If it was easy, there's no growth in that. Build a system of daily habits. I've realized that working hard to achieve your goals shouldn't be this kind of constant uphill battle, right? So building a system of daily habits helps make your journey so much easier. So here are 3 habits that I've implemented. And I mean, I have so many daily habits that I live by, but these are 3 really important ones that help me become a lot more motivated over the long term. Restrict social media. I've been restricting the amount of time I've been spending on social media for the last couple of years. I usually leave my phone in another room when I'm working, and the effects have been incredible. I'm able to focus on my work for longer because I'm not breaking my concentration every time I receive a message, so my productivity has increased significantly. Relax productively. Another habit that I've made recently is that instead of watching YouTube or Netflix or scrolling through social media at night time just before I go to sleep, I'll read. So reading is generally more educational and it's a lot easier to fall asleep. YouTube and social media have been designed to kind of keep you stimulated by releasing the neurotransmitter dopamine and serotonin in your brain that can stop you from falling asleep. Balance work and play. Working too hard can be just as damaging as working too little. It's important to take a step back every now and then to really review and recalibrate how many hours a day you're working or studying and how many hours you're working on other areas of your life, like your health, like relationships, and generally things that make you happy. So I could talk all day about how I changed my life from being super lazy to being super motivated in just 1 year. I could literally make this video 2 hours, 3 hours long, but if you do want to learn more about it, I made a video on how I overcame my procrastination addiction, because believe me, it absolutely was an addiction. You can click on the card on the screen to watch it. Alternatively, I made another video on 7 daily micro habits that are changing my life. Again, you can click on the card on the screen, and whichever video you choose, I'll see you over there.